100 miles north of the Australian continent, lie the islands of the territory of Papua New Guinea. Covering little more than 300,000 square miles, these tropical islands are becoming increasingly important on the world scene, with their moves towards self-government. A party of Rotarians leave Sydney Airport to visit this tropical paradise. It is not only to be a holiday. They are part of the first team to go to build a wharf for the people of the district of Wasu on the northern coast of New Guinea. These Rotarians and Rotarians come from all walks of life, as widely separated as hotel keeping, insurance and tailoring, but will all combine with one purpose. Port Moresby is the capital of the territory and the centre of government. The town is progressing at a fast rate and certain to accelerate as self-government draws near. Port Moresby is situated on a beautiful harbour and is in a dry belt with far less rainfall than most other towns in the territory. The university for the people of these islands is situated here, and it is quite common to see people from every part and hear the wide range of languages spoken. Over 700 can be heard right throughout the territory. Wherever you travel, you will find a marketplace where the produce of land and sea can be purchased at prices you just will not believe. Even pawpaws as big as watermelons and costing about 10 cents. The world remembers this region for the battles fought against the Japanese. To honour the thousands who paid the supreme sacrifice, magnificently kept cemeteries are in the main towns. The people take great pride in these centres of remembrance. The airstrip at Port Moresby is always busy. As well as serving as the first landing point for people from Australia, many service planes are to be seen operating from the Jackson field. Without aircraft, Papua New Guinea would be a place of real isolation. Papua New Guinea is geographically a place of extreme contrasts. The ruggedness of the mountain ranges which split the island are scenically magnificent. Famous wartime names like the Owen Stanleys and Kokoda Trail are remembered by many who tramped from coast to coast via the highlands. But peace finds a far different place, and a visit to the highlands should be high on any tourist's list of priorities. Great rivers are also to be found running from the mountains to the coast, and towns like Lae are coastal centres with much building progress in evidence, all of which was built over the last 2 decades. But Wasu is the destination for the work team, and there is much to be done. The 60-foot cargo vessel Salankawa is the transport for the journey to Wasu. This boat did much of the work in bringing supplies for the project to the site, for Wasu itself is not a thriving centre like Port Moresby or Lae. To travel to such a place by a boat that moves sufficiently slowly for the travellers to admire the surroundings is a rewarding experience. The watercolour is typical of the tropics, often a bright turquoise and as clear as crystal. Millions of flying foxes can be seen as they flock around the fruit trees that grow in great profusion. Growth of all kinds is prolific, with palm trees and bush undergrowth visible wherever you may travel. The boat journey took the party past coastal areas where fishermen would have a field day, as the waters abound in both tropical fish and others which are edible. The overnight trip on the 70-ton cargo vessel took 16 hours from Lae to Wasu. 26 people were on board, including 6 Rotarians. Have you ever met a shy Rotarian? Well, this lot are not ashamed to let everyone know what they're up to. All good things eventually come to an end, and the time has come to get down to work. But even the hard work ahead of this party is to prove a pleasure in these surroundings, and especially when they realise the value of their efforts to those the wharf will serve. The hoisting of the Rotary flag at Wasu called for the skill of a local who had no trouble climbing up the pole. This flag had been used at Lake Placid. The design of the Wasu Hilton Botel is a little different to the rest of the Hilton chain, and the Rotary Club Belong Wasu Belong New Guinea was a very popular place during the visit. Around the reefs and even on the shore there is a great variety of beautiful and colourful shells. Most of the actual work on the wharf construction was done by the local people. This was supervised by the skilled members of the party, and they were very impressed by the enthusiasm of the Wasu people. Even though such work was foreign to these people, they soon learned the work, and it is now felt that they would almost be able to build another wharf themselves with a minimum of supervision. The stability of the wharf depended on its foundations, and pile driving equipment was landed to make such work possible. There was no shortage of willing workers when anything was to be done. The white man is considered a symbol of authority in many parts of this territory, and the indigenous people are great followers, but have a real ability to learn, and this will be necessary as the future of their country is almost certain to be one under self-government in the next few years. The assembly of the pile driver was yet another task that called for all hands on deck. While the work was being done, the locals almost continually sang. This is normal amongst these people who proved very happy in all their activities. The majority of the materials for the wharf had to be transported by the cargo vessel to Wasu, but some local material was available. Stones used in the abutments came from only 2 miles away. The river stones were gathered and transported by tractor and trailer to the site. The river was a mountain stream and the water very cold, which is a direct contrast to the warm tropical water around Wasu. Direction of the workforce was by a Rotary Club past president, who was an engineer. The workforce of local people began with 80 being used, but was reduced to 20 after 4 days. They were so eager and quick to learn that the original number was far more than could be used. The assessed value of this wharf was $55,000, and the time estimated for construction was 7 months. The Rotary Club teams built it in 5 weeks for $12,000 because of the great will to work. None of the locals had ever handled equipment of the type used in the wharf construction before, but with their willingness and enthusiasm were able to master the machinery and make possible the wharf completion. Wooden planks made up the jetty decking, and judged by their thickness, the construction should have a long life of service. For those who were not involved in the construction, a walk along the Wasu beach was always a pleasant way to spend time, particularly in the late afternoon. The workforce also availed themselves of this opportunity whenever time permitted. Generally, work started at 6 a.m. with a rest in the middle of the day and ended at 6 p.m. But there was barely an hour of any day that was not being used in some part of the construction. People realised the urgency of the project and applied themselves with a zeal and fervour that is well known amongst Rotarians worldwide. The climate at Wasu is hot and humid, being a coastal area. The midday temperature is therefore generally the highest, and early morning and late afternoons are more suitable for the heavier work. As most recognise, time is the great enemy of mankind in the sophisticated city situations, and yet at Wasu time seems almost unimportant. Life could least be described as casual, and the tempo is almost foreign to what the majority of the world's population know and live by. There is a coral reef at Wasu, which means shipping cannot come closer than 100 feet from the shore. This has long since presented many problems for these people, and accordingly presented the same problems for the workforce. With much heavy equipment and materials needed on the project, it was found necessary to float them ashore. A pontoon made of timber and 44-gallon drums served as a means of conveyance. But with the wharf completion, the problem will be solved. This project was part of the Rotary Club's FAME program. FAME stands for 4th Avenue in Motion and is designed to carry out many other projects such as Wasu. Districts 265, 267 and 268 were involved here, but it is hoped and expected that many other districts will involve themselves in the future activities of the FAME program. Rotary provided $500,000 of assistance last year, including school desks, libraries and sporting materials. This is only the start, but the future needs the involvement of so many Rotarians with a real concern for others. One of the future projects of FAME is to build a teachers' college complex of building to be administered by a mission under the Territory Administration. While at Wasu, some of the workforce constructed this brick school building for the people of the nearby leper colony, as well as many grass huts for accommodation. The bricks were made from ground coral and all handmade by the locals. While this could be called good experience for the teachers' college project, there will be a great need for so many others to involve themselves in the plan. The education of youth must be #1 priority if a country or people are to progress in this world of ever-increasing educational standards. If you have never drunk the milk from a fresh coconut in the tropics, then you have missed an experience that is worth having. Coconut milk is one of the most refreshing drinks you will ever taste and awaits you in New Guinea. So when you hear the call of fame, you will be able to remember some of the things you can look forward to, as well as realising the great help your involvement will be for the people of this rapidly accelerating territory. But no one can just live on coconut milk, and the Rotarians proved that the tropics do not remove one's appetite. The meals were well prepared and welcomed by everyone. Some of the food eaten at Wasu was also a new experience for many, as tropical foods, particularly the exotic fruits, have a flavour that is unsurpassed. So here too is another experience awaiting you. With the wharf still uncompleted, the task of getting materials ashore was slowly but adequately cared for by the pontoon. Every load was a step nearer the day that this dedicated team had worked so zealously towards. Not everyone who worked on the Wasu project was a Rotarian. Some young men came at their own expense and greatly enjoyed the experience. They met some of the more colourful local characters, which may not have the same attraction to all people. The cost of 3 weeks was 230 Australian dollars, and all food and accommodation was included. These young men certainly enjoyed themselves, and an impromptu shower or swim was always a possibility. Throughout the territory, the native people perform dancing ceremonies which are known as sing-sings. The regalia is most colourful, with the headdress the result of much time in preparation. The dances may not have much movement, but are full of real significance to the people of the many racial groups. For these people to perform in this way was an example of the appreciation they desired to show for the efforts of the work team. Engineers from the administration, including Mr. Tom Crotty, the Chief Engineer from the Territory, and the District Commissioner of the Morrabie District, visited Wasu to evaluate the work of the Rotary team. Rotary has provided an exclusive avenue of service in the Territory, which was greatly appreciated by the administration technical experts and the administrator himself. The result of the visit in the administration is now subsidising dollar for dollar Rotary projects of this type. 4,000 natives walked and arrived by boat for the official opening by Administrator David Hay. This was the first visit the Administrator had made to this isolated region, and was a highlight in the lives of the local people, many of whom had had a personal involvement in the construction. The Administrator, who was accompanied by his wife, was very complimentary in his remarks towards the project and the efforts of the individuals. His Honour realised the value of this construction to a people who have experienced the problems of isolation for so long. The native people performed a dance at the opening ceremony which culminated in pulling the administrator down to the completed wharf. When people have very little of the material prosperity of life, it is then that efforts such as the Wasu project are more greatly appreciated. A grass hut was especially constructed for the opening ceremonies, and every person who had reason for interest or involvement in the Wasu area or Morrabie district gathered to honour the efforts and achievement and admire the results. The wharf is a strong construction with an estimated life of 15 years. There are 30,000 people who can be expected to benefit from this project. There are 3.25 million coffee trees bearing in the district, and the crop will be sent to the world's markets. Prior to the wharf completion, it took 24 hours to unload cargo from the ship, and it was dropped into the water or onto a pontoon. There was a great deal of damage and loss, but now the turnaround time for the cargo vessels is 3 hours. Another asset is that new buildings have been constructed because Wasu has become a centre of trade with a facility far greater than any other in the near vicinity. What we take for granted is to others often only a distant dream. But through the achievement of Rotary at Wasu, a dream has come true. People have again proved that service above self is a worthy aim for all mankind to direct his or her life towards. The Rotary program through Fame is just one avenue in motion, but there must be others just waiting for concerned people to come forward and serve those who need. Yes, New Guinea is a beautiful country, and one that has great potential. You and I can be involved in its future. We all can help these people of this grossly underdeveloped land move towards self-government far better equipped to withstand the problems they will encounter. Remember Wasu, not all were specialists. In fact, many performed tasks entirely foreign to their normal business pursuits, but all truly showed service above self.